I couldn't breathe. The restaurant went silent except for the clinking of champagne glasses and someone's awkward cough. I stared at the DNA test kit in my hands, the box feeling heavier than it should, while my sister Marissa stood across the table with a satisfied smirk that made my stomach turn. Everyone was watching. My cousins. My aunts. My parents. Even the waiter had frozen mid-pour. "Go on, open it properly," Marissa said, her voice dripping with fake sweetness. I thought it was the perfect gift. You know, since you've always wondered which man actually made you. The laughter started small. A nervous giggle from my cousin Devon. Then my Uncle Rick snorted into his wine glass. My mother's face had gone pale, but she wasn't stopping this. My father, the man who supposedly raised me, was suddenly very interested in his steak. "Marissa, that's enough," my grandmother said quietly, but she wasn't loud enough to cut through the growing murmur of voices. "What?" "I'm just saying what everyone's been thinking for years." Marissa tossed her perfect blonde hair over her shoulder. She looked exactly like our father. Same blue eyes. Same narrow nose. Same confident jawline. I looked like nobody. Brown eyes when everyone else had blue. Dark hair when they were all fair. Even my height was different, shorter, rounder, softer where they were all tall and angular. "Another man's mistake," someone whispered. I don't know who said it, but it landed like a slap. I set the box down carefully, my hands shaking. 27 years old, and I was sitting at my own birthday dinner being humiliated in front of 30 people. The candles on my cake were still burning, the wax dripping onto the frosting spelling out, "Happy Birthday, Sutton." That was me. Sutton Clark. Or at least that's what my birth certificate said. "You know what, thank you," I said, surprised by how steady my voice sounded. "This is very thoughtful." Marissa's smile faltered for just a second. She'd wanted tears. She'd wanted me to run out. Instead, I picked up the box, tucked it under my arm, and grabbed my purse. "I think I'm going to head out early. Thanks for coming, everyone." My mother finally spoke. "Sutton, honey, wait." "It's fine, Mom. Really. Great party." I kissed my grandmother's cheek because she was the only one who tried to defend me, and I walked out of that restaurant with my head up even though I could feel everyone's eyes burning into my back. That was 3 weeks ago. That was the night everything changed. I sat in my car in the parking lot for 20 minutes, just gripping the steering wheel and trying not to scream. My phone kept buzzing. Text messages flooding in. Most were from people who'd been at the dinner, suddenly concerned now that I'd left. Where was that concern 30 minutes ago when Marissa was serving me humiliation with a side of breadsticks? One message stood out. It was from my cousin Lila. That was messed up. "I'm sorry. Your sister is a bitch." At least someone said it. I drove home to my small apartment, the DNA test kit sitting in my passenger seat like a bomb. Part of me wanted to throw it away, pretend tonight never happened. But another part, the part that had spent 27 years feeling like a puzzle piece that didn't quite fit, wanted answers. The thing is, this wasn't new. The whispers. The looks. The way my father would introduce Marissa as my daughter, and me as just Sutton. The way family photos were arranged with Marissa front and center and me slightly off to the side. The way my mother would get this guilty, anxious look whenever someone commented on how different I looked. When I was 12, my Aunt Cheryl had too much wine at Thanksgiving and said, "Are we sure she belongs to you, Richard?" She'd laughed like it was a joke, but my father hadn't laughed back. He'd just gotten very quiet, and my mother had changed the subject so fast it gave me whiplash. When I was 16, Marissa started calling me the spare. As in, the backup child. The one they didn't really need. She'd say it casually, like a nickname, but it stuck. Soon her friends were saying it too. "Oh, that's Sutton, Marissa's spare." I tried to talk to my parents about it once. I was 18, home for my first semester of college, and I asked my mother directly, "Am I Dad's biological daughter?" She'd looked at me with these wide, shocked eyes. "Sutton Marie Clark, what kind of question is that?" "A reasonable one, considering everyone treats me like I don't belong here." "You're being dramatic. Of course you belong here. Don't be ridiculous." That was it. Conversation over. Door closed. Questions dismissed. So yeah, maybe Marissa's little DNA test stunt was cruel, but at least it was honest. At least now I had a tool to get real answers instead of more gaslighting and deflection. I opened the kit that night. Swabbed my cheek. Sealed it in the prepaid envelope. Sent it off the next morning. Then I waited. 2 weeks, they said. 2 weeks for results. Those were the longest 2 weeks of my life. Marissa, of course, couldn't let it go. She posted a video clip from the party on her social media, the moment where she handed me the gift. She'd captioned it, "Sometimes the truth hurts, face with tears of joy, broken heart, #family drama, #birthday shock, #sorry not sorry." It got 4,000 views in 2 days. People I went to high school with were commenting. Strangers were weighing in. Half thought it was hilarious. Half thought Marissa was terrible. But everyone was talking about it, which meant everyone was talking about me, about my legitimacy, about whether I was really a Clark or some affair baby my mother had passed off. I stopped looking at social media. I stopped answering most calls. I went to work at the accounting firm where I'd been for 3 years, did my job, came home, and obsessively refreshed the DNA testing website waiting for my results. My mother called me 6 times that first week. I let it go to voicemail. On the 7th call, I finally answered. "Sutton, sweetie, we need to talk." "About what, Mom?" "About how you let Marissa humiliate me in public. About how Dad couldn't even look at me. Or about how you've been dodging questions about my paternity for my entire life." Silence. "Then, you don't understand how complicated this is." "Then explain it to me." "I can't. Not right now. Just, don't take that test seriously, okay? Those things are notoriously inaccurate." "Are they? Or are you just scared of what it might say?" She hung up. My father never called at all. Marissa sent me a text message on day 9, "Haven't heard from you. Did you take the test? Dying to know, lol." I blocked her number. My grandmother called on day 12. "Sutton, honey, I need to tell you something. Your mother is very upset. She's been crying for days." "Grandma, she's upset because she's been lying to me. That's not my fault." "I know, sweetheart. I know. But I want you to be prepared. Whatever that test says, you're still you. You're still my granddaughter. That doesn't change." "Why does everyone keep acting like it's going to say something bad?" She paused. "Because we've all seen the way you look at your father, waiting for him to claim you the way he claims Marissa. And we've all seen the way he doesn't." That broke something in me. Hearing it said out loud. The truth I'd been swallowing for years. On day 14, the email came. "Your results are ready." I was at work. I remember staring at my computer screen, at that notification, and feeling my entire body go cold. My coworker Jasmine asked me if I was okay because apparently, I'd gone white as paper. "I need to go home," I said. I drove home, sat on my couch, opened my laptop, and logged into the DNA testing site. My hands were shaking so badly I could barely type my password. The results loaded. Father-daughter relationship confirmed. 99.9% probability that Richard Clark is your biological father. I read it 3 times. 4 times. 5 times. I wasn't another man's mistake. I wasn't an affair baby. I was Richard Clark's biological daughter, just as much as Marissa was. I started crying. Not sad crying. Angry crying. Relieved crying. Vindicating crying. All those years. All those whispers and comments and sideways glances. All that time I'd spent feeling like an imposter in my own family. And I was legitimate. I was real. I belonged there by blood. Marissa had tried to expose me and ended up proving I was exactly who I'd always said I was. I grabbed my phone. I was about to call my mother, about to call my father, about to send Marissa a screenshot of these results with a very detailed message about where she could shove her accusations. But then I saw something else. The DNA site had a feature called Genetic Relatives. It showed other people who'd taken the test and shared DNA with you. I clicked on it, curious. There were a few distant cousins I recognized. My grandmother's sister's kids. Some second cousins I'd never met. But there was something weird. Marissa's name was on the list. She'd obviously taken a test too at some point, probably fishing for drama. But her genetic markers showed something strange. Shared DNA with me, 25.8%. That was right for half siblings. We shared one parent, so about 25% overlap made sense. But then I clicked on her profile and saw her other matches. She matched with my mother's side of the family. All my maternal cousins. My mother's siblings. But she had 0 matches on my father's side. None. I sat there staring at that screen for a full minute, my brain trying to process what I was seeing. I pulled up my own results again. I matched with my paternal uncle. My father's brother James. His kids. My dad's cousins. Marissa matched with none of them. I matched with my maternal Aunt Diane. Her children. So did Marissa. Slowly, like watching a car crash in slow motion, I understood. I was Richard Clark's daughter. Marissa wasn't. My mother had gotten pregnant by another man. But it wasn't me. It was Marissa. Perfect, blonde, blue-eyed Marissa who looked so much like Dad that no one ever questioned it. Except she didn't look like Dad. She looked like someone else who happened to have the same coloring. The golden child. The favorite. The one who mocked me for being another man's mistake. She was the mistake. I closed my laptop. I sat there in my apartment with the afternoon light coming through the windows, and I started laughing. Not a happy laugh. A slightly unhinged, disbelieving, cosmic justice kind of laugh. Then I got to work. I spent the next week quietly doing research. I pulled up old family photos. I started asking subtle questions to my grandmother, who didn't know what I was digging for but was happy to reminisce. I learned that Marissa was born 7 months after my parents' reconciliation, following a brief separation. A separation no one really talked about. A time when my mother had gone to stay with her sister in Portland for 3 months. To clear her head, everyone said. I found old social media posts from my mom's friends. Checked in locations. Tagged photos from that time period. She'd been spending a lot of time with someone named Brandon Holt. He was tagged in 6 different posts. Beach trips. Dinners. Concerts. I found Brandon Holt's Facebook profile. Blonde hair. Blue eyes. Narrow nose. Strong jawline. He looked exactly like Marissa. I took screenshots of everything. I saved every piece of evidence. I made a folder on my desktop labeled Family Research, and backed it up in 3 different places. Then I waited for the right moment. That moment came 5 weeks after my birthday disaster. My parents' 30th wedding anniversary party. They'd rented out the same restaurant, invited all the same people, plus more. 50 guests this time. A big celebration. I almost didn't go. But then I thought about Marissa standing up at my birthday with that DNA test. I thought about everyone laughing. I thought about years of being called the spare, the different one, the questionable one. And I decided I'd earned the right to tell my own story. I bought a nice dress. Did my makeup. Showed up exactly on time. My mother looked shocked to see me. Sutton, honey, I didn't think you'd come. Wouldn't miss it, I said sweetly. Marissa was there with her fiancé, some finance bro named Todd. She gave me this condescending smile. Oh good, you decided to join the family after all. Did you ever get those test results back? I did, actually. Very interesting results. Her smile widened. I bet. Dinner was served. Speeches were made. My father talked about 30 years of marriage, about building a family, about love and commitment. My Uncle James talked about my parents being relationship goals. Marissa gave a toast about being blessed with such amazing parents. I waited until dessert was served. Then I stood up. I'd like to say something, I announced, tapping my glass. The room quieted. My mother looked nervous. My father looked annoyed. Marissa looked smug. 5 weeks ago, at my birthday dinner, my sister gave me a DNA test as a gift. I pulled the kit out of my purse, still in its box. Several people gasped. She suggested I use it to find out which man was my real father. She called me another man's mistake in front of all of you. Marissa's smile was frozen on her face. Sutton, come on, it was a joke. Let me finish. My voice was calm, steady. I'd practiced this. So I took the test. And I got my results. And you were right, Marissa. DNA tests are incredibly revealing. I pulled out a folder. Inside were printed copies of my results and Marissa's genetic relative matches. Turns out I am Richard Clark's biological daughter. 99.9% match. No question about it. I looked at my father. He was staring at me with this confused expression. I'm yours, Dad. Always have been. Relief crossed his face. He actually smiled. But here's where it gets interesting. I opened the folder. The DNA site shows genetic relatives. People who share your DNA. And I share DNA with everyone on Dad's side of the family. Uncle James. Cousin Rachel. Grandpa's brother's kids. All of them. I walked over to where Marissa was sitting. Marissa doesn't match with any of them. Not one. 0 paternal relatives. The room went dead silent. What are you talking about? Marissa's voice was shrill now. I'm talking about the fact that you share 0 DNA with anyone on Dad's side of the family. But you share DNA with all of Mom's relatives. Which means Mom is your biological mother, but Dad isn't your biological father. My mother stood up. Sutton, stop this right now. You told me to take the test seriously, Marissa. So I did. I took it very seriously. And then I did some research. I pulled out printed photos. Mom, do you remember Brandon Holt? From Portland? The guy you were seeing during your separation 30 years ago? Before you and Dad got back together. My father's face changed. What separation? The one nobody talks about, I said. The 3 months Mom spent in Portland. The summer before Marissa was born. I put a photo of Brandon Holt next to Marissa's graduation portrait. The resemblance was unmistakable. That's not real, Marissa said, but her voice cracked. You're making this up. You're just trying to. I'm not making up DNA results, Marissa. Those don't lie. I looked at her directly. You spent years calling me the spare. The outsider. The one who didn't belong. The mistake. And all along, you were describing yourself. My father grabbed the papers from my hands. He read them, his face going red, then pale, then red again. He looked at my mother. Ellen. My mother was crying. Full breakdown crying. Richard, I can explain. Explain what? Explain that you lied to me for 30 years? Explain that Marissa isn't mine. I didn't know. I didn't know for sure. You and Brandon, you looked similar, I thought. You thought you could pass her off as mine. The restaurant had erupted in chaos. People were talking over each other. My grandmother was sitting in shock. Uncle James was trying to calm my father down. Aunt Diane was comforting my mother. Marissa was just sitting there, staring at the DNA results like if she looked hard enough they'd change. I picked up my purse. Sutton, wait, my father said. He grabbed my arm gently. I'm sorry. For everything. For not standing up for you. For letting you feel like you didn't belong. You do belong. You're mine. You're my daughter. I nodded. I know. Now everyone else knows too. I walked past Marissa on my way out. She looked up at me with tears running down her face, her makeup smearing. Be careful who you call a mistake, I said quietly, just loud enough for her to hear. Then I left. The fallout was nuclear. My parents' marriage didn't survive. My father filed for separation 2 weeks later. Not because Marissa wasn't his biological child, he said, but because of 30 years of lies. My mother moved in with Aunt Diane. My father stayed in the house. Marissa had a breakdown. Her engagement ended. Todd apparently wasn't interested in being connected to this level of family drama. She tried calling me 17 times. I didn't answer. Finally, she showed up at my apartment. Sutton, please. We need to talk. No, we don't.
I'm sorry.
I'm so sorry. I didn't know. I swear I didn't know. But you knew you were cruel. You knew you spent years making me feel small. You knew what you were doing at my birthday. She was crying. Full sobbing. I was jealous. You were always so comfortable with yourself. You didn't need their approval the way I did. I thought if I could make you feel as insecure as I felt. You succeeded. Congratulations. Please. You're my sister. Half sister. And not the half you thought. I closed the door. My father reached out constantly. He wanted to rebuild our relationship. He took me to dinner. He apologized over and over. He admitted he'd always known something was off, that he'd suspected Marissa might not be his, but he'd been too afraid to question it. Too afraid to blow up his marriage. Too afraid to face the truth. I punished you for my own cowardice, he said. I saw you as proof that she was faithful, and I saw Marissa as a reminder that she might not have been. So I kept you at arm's length without even realizing it. It was the most honest conversation we'd ever had. I can't forgive you yet, I told him. Maybe someday. But not yet. He nodded. I understand. I'll be here when you're ready. My grandmother took me to lunch and held my hands across the table. You did the right thing, she said. Truth is always better than comfortable lies. Did I? I destroyed their marriage. I destroyed Marissa's life. No, honey. They destroyed those things themselves 30 years ago. You just refused to keep carrying their secrets. That helped. 3 months after the anniversary party, I moved. A new apartment. Bigger. Better light. A fresh start. I changed my phone number. I kept in touch with my grandmother, my father on my terms, and a few cousins who'd reached out with apologies and support. I blocked everyone else. I started therapy. Not because I was broken, but because I wanted to make sure I processed this the right way. That I didn't carry their damage into my next chapter. One day I got a message on the DNA site. From Brandon Holt. Your mother reached out to me. Told me about Marissa. I'd like to meet her, if she's willing. And I'd like to apologize to you. You got caught in the crossfire of our mistakes. I'm sorry for that. I forwarded it to Marissa without comment. What she did with it was her choice. 6 months after everything exploded, I was having coffee with my friend Jasmine when my phone buzzed. Unknown number. Hello? Sutton, it's Marissa. I almost hung up. I met him, she said quietly. Brandon. My biological father. He's actually a good guy. He didn't know about me. Mom never told him. Okay. And I'm in therapy. Real therapy. Dealing with my shit instead of projecting it onto everyone else. Good. Long pause. I don't expect you to forgive me. But I wanted you to know that I understand now. What I did to you. How deep that cruelty went. And I'm sorry. Truly sorry. Thank you for saying that. Are we ever going to be okay again? I thought about it. Really thought about it. Maybe, I said. Someday. But not today. That's fair. She hung up. Jasmine raised her eyebrows. Your sister. Yeah. How do you feel? I sipped my coffee. Watched the people walking past the window. Felt the sun on my face. Honestly, I feel free. And I did. I wasn't another man's mistake. I wasn't the spare. I wasn't the outsider. I was just me. Sutton Clark. Legitimate daughter. Legitimate person. Finally free from carrying other people's lies. They tried to erase me with a DNA test. Instead, I erased their comfortable fiction. And you know what? I'd do it again. Because truth, no matter how painful, is always better than living as someone's secret shame. I learned that the hard way. But I learned it. And now, when I look in the mirror, I see someone who belongs to herself first. That's worth everything.